Every time I get back in the streets, this shit get darker. Yeah. Niggas can't handle me now. We do it all, we changing no laws, they think about taking me down. We didn't put bulletproof all in the cars, I told them bring 80 more rounds. I put baguettes on all of my dogs, they fall, they making this sound. I'm on the yacht with a bad dot. We got the streets in the headlock. Nigga try to creep through the backyard, all he seen was the choppers and red dots. I had my mama a black car, yeah, I really put.
Week 4 recap. Want to shout out the homie, my nephew, Dwayne, for taking the lead on doing that week 3 recap on some porch in DC somewhere with his man bun. So I want to shout him out for doing that week 4 recap, and I'm loving the energy that him and Blake are bringing on to this chat, man. Like, these two are infamously not known for being relevant in football, but they're relevant this year, so they're being very chatty. So let's keep it going, fellas. Like, Dwayne, you and I both know the saying, keep the energy up, Playboy. So jumping into week 4 recap. By the way, Blake, Miami was lit. You should have came through, but I know you got obligations and got the loss and didn't want to come out and was in your feelings and stuff of that nature. Like, again, you two keep the same energy up. So with that being said, jumping into week 4 recap, weekly high score. Let's start off with it. Larry, my man, who had a bit of back and forth with me this morning because his calculations was off, but he's on a time difference, so fairness to him, let's excuse it. But week 4, weekly high score to him, so shout outs to Larry on that. And then Chris, obviously, let's keep you going. Week 3, want to shout you out for getting the weekly high score for week 3. The other part that I want to flag for everybody here is regarding the knockout pool. So far in the knockout pool, Chris has been knocked out as of week 1. Larry was knocked out as of week 2. Roy was knocked out as of week 3, and Blake was just knocked out as of week 4. Not only did Blake lose to my nephew Dwayne, but he also got knocked out of the knockout pool in the same week. It's double entendre. Should have came out, man. We'd have had a good time. And then from there, and looking at the standings, the most impressive thing about this league is there are no undefeated teams. There's only 3-1 teams at this point. There are no undefeated teams any longer in this league, right? So you have Blake, Theodore, Larry, Dwayne, all 3-1. No undefeated teams. So shout outs to them as they're 3-1. And then you have a bunch of us in the pack. Myself, James, Lamont, Steven, all 2-2. So and everyone's at least gotten a win, right? So that's the other part about this league. So it is far from over. If anything, it is just starting. So that's really interesting and cool. And again, I hope everybody keeps the same energy and just the chatter kind of going up and around. And again, spoiler alert, there's going to be a lot of fucking energy week 5, and I'll tell you why when I get to the matchups for next week. So, looking at the matchups from last week, I'm going to jump through this really quickly because I got to jump through this really quickly. The big bro James beats my Haitian brother Chris 156.72, sorry, for 138.22. Looking at that makes Chris goes down to 1-3. James goes to 2-2. After winning the weekly high score, I think Chris is trying to get on a bit of a winning streak. He started Sony Michel, gave him -9. Not really much else he could have done. I mean, Antonio Brown on his team gave him 13.3, but he had no place else to play Antonio Brown. Played AJ Green though, which is insane. They gave him 17.7, so really good hindsight from the homie Chris. Looking at the big bro James, nothing. Devontae Smith 19.9 on his bench over Juju Smith-Schuster 33.1. Maybe, but I probably would have played Juju over Devontae after Devontae's bad week. Nothing else. He does have Damian Williams on his bench, who's going to be a big pickup this week. So big bro James a week ahead of the curve. John Ross 16.7. Don't know what made you pick him up, but clearly you knew something that we didn't. So huge shout outs to the big bro James on that one. I'm going to save that matchup for last. I'll go to my matchup. I won 37.686 to 126.02. I beat UG. UG falls to 1-3. I go to 2-2 now. Looking at UG's team, he had Darryl Mooney on the bench at 18.5. Wouldn't have played Darryl Mooney over CeeDee Lamb. Wouldn't have got cute like that. So he made all the right starts here. Unfortunately, just didn't have a. This team just didn't outscore mine. Looking at my team, I had a couple of people on my active roster that's questionable. Marvin Jones at 5.4. Chris Carson at 4.1, but Chris Carson, I'm not going to get cute. I would have played him. Montgomery did get hurt for me, but he had 22.6. And then when you look at my bench, I had Zach Moss at 12.1, Latavius Murray 19.9, Kenneth Gainwell at 20.9 on the bench. So made all the right starts, got the win, but very concerning next week considering I have a few injuries this week that I have to account for. Moving over to Larry, who was at 176.62 weekly high score. Beat Steven 133.88. Steven falls to 2-2. Larry goes to 3-1. Steven had nobody on his bench. I mean, he has, in fairness, he has McCaffrey and AJ Brown hurt, so that's a tough one for him. But he still put up 133.88 in that league. Moving over, looking at Larry's team, nobody really. Jamison Crowder, man, this dude. Larry, man, like, I'm a Jets fan also, but, like, clearly he knew something I didn't know. Just to have Jamison Crowder just shows you the level of, like, in-depth analysis he does on the Jets. So huge pickup for him, but nothing else. I mean, the Bills defense did give him 25 points, which is quite freaking impressive for a defense. So shout out to him for that. Moving on to the next matchup, you have Roy, who got his first win of the year. He gets against Lamont, 173.62 to 120.02. Looking at Lamont's team, nothing at all. I mean, the James White injury kills him in a lot of ways, but nothing at all on his bench that he could have done differently. Or I would have was questionable. Looking at Roy, he's not playing Allen Robinson, which is the right move to make. But the only reason I'm making that comment is because he drafted Allen Robinson with the 29th pick in the 3rd round. And he put up 173.62. So imagine if Allen Robinson starts to ball for him. Could be pretty scary for the rest of us as it relates to Roy. But he had Marquise Brown give him 19. He had Deebo Samuel give him 35.7. And he still had Devin Cook going to give him 6.4. And he scored 173.62, which is quite scary. And he lost to Larry by only 3 points in the weekly high score. So getting spooky out here. Then when you look at Ron beats Theodore, shout out to Ron, who was 0-3, beats my cousin Theodore, who was 3-0, 114.24 to 124.34. Looking at Theodore's team, Jalen Hurts made him for the loss. If he didn't get cute, if he played Jalen Hurts over Derek Carr, he would have clearly won this matchup, but I get why he played Carr over Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts had a terrible week 3. So I get it. Just that's the only move he could have made that was in question. Looking over at Ron's team, he had DJ Chark give him 0, by the way, and still got the win. Nothing really on his bench that I would have done differently, but huge win for him. And then to end this recap on these two are, I don't know who the father, who the son is, or what the relationship is, but it's like there's clearly some kind of parental thing going on between the two of them. But Blake takes the L and takes his first L of the year and goes to 3-1. Dwayne keeps winning, goes to 3-1, 138.8 to 104.76. Looking at Blake's team, Corey Davis on the bench with 21. I don't know who you to play Corey Davis over. Maybe Jacoby Myers, but Jacoby Myers had 16.8, so that wouldn't have made a difference for you at all. Made all the right starts here. Just unfortunately, played against a team that just outproduced him. And then when you flip onto the other side, Dwayne made all the right moves here. No one that he should have started that he didn't start. So huge win for Dwayne. He goes 3-1 and makes sure that Blake is not undefeated, which was huge. And Blake, I hope you keep the same energy that you were keeping last week on this chat now that you've taken your first L. Moving on to next week, in terms of matchups, you have UG going against Chris. Both teams are 1-3. You have Theodore going against James. James is 2-2. Theodore's 3-1. They're both supposed to get over my house this weekend for Football Sunday, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes. James beat me, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with Theodore. And then you have Roy, who's 1-3. He plays against Blake, who's 3-1. You have Larry, who is 3-1, plays against Ron, who's 1-3. You have Lamont, who's 2-2, playing against Stevens, 2-2. And then this is where I'm talking about the shit talk's going to happen. And I'm going to keep the fucking energy up all week, regardless of how this plays out. I lost David Montgomery. I don't care. I'm not about excuses. I'm playing against Dwayne this week. Dwayne's 3-1. I'm 2-2. My record is shit, but he's 3-1. So let's bring it. I look forward to seeing how this all plays out. See you guys next week.
Put on for the head now. This that one AC, you ain't one of them rappers, and none of your steppers can step with my steppers. It's chest, not checkers. I told my dogs, don't stress, don't rush it. I really got off for 7-on-7, and I'm getting better and better and better. My nigga is never no pressure. Every time I hear one of y'all niggas you smoke, it's never no pressure. Niggas is pussy. If I put a price on your head, should I get the special? You know I be hanging with Jews, get money with Russians. I'm making my moves. The hood behind me, I never could lose. I'm good, I'm solid, can't play me like one of them dudes. You probably end up on the news. We mobbing and wildin', you know we ain't talking them Jews, especially for none of you dudes. We sliding with choppers, rockin' Dior. I still remember me poor. I'm trying to get more. Welcome to Philly when niggas get smoked. For real, trying to slide the store. Send them with the stick.